23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And then I want to read John chapter 10, beginning at verse 7. Jesus again said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I laid down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from my Father." Now today we're going to sort of narrow in and focus on this idea of Jesus, the restorer, that he restores my soul. We say, the Lord is my shepherd, and then he goes on, he says, I am that good shepherd. So what that lets me know is I have a choice to understand who in my life is the good shepherd and who in my life is a thief or a wolf or a robber trying to scatter and trying to deceive me and kill me and destroy me, because there are voices that are competing. There are influences that are competing. There are leaders who are trying to gain my attention. And the question is, who am I going to choose to listen to? Who am I going to choose to serve? The good shepherd, the Lord who is my shepherd, who leads me beside still waters, who makes me lie down in green pastures, who restores my soul. Or the thief, the thieves, the robbers, those who would seek to scatter me, kill me, destroy me. Where will I pay attention? Sometimes we have this idea that as long as I love Jesus, then I can just kind of do my own thing and it'll all just work out. But I want you to realize embedded in these texts is the idea that I am following the good shepherd. That's what makes him my shepherd, that I follow him. Will I follow him or will I follow someone else? And he talks about the thief here in this text. We know who the thief is. The thief is the devil or the liar, the enemy of my soul. Jesus said this in John chapter 8 and verse 44. He said, you are of your father, you love your father, the devil. It is your will to do the desires of your father. He was a murderer from the beginning. He does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks from his own position because he is a liar and the father of lies. So there are voices that we can hear that will lie to us, that will seek to kill us or destroy us or rob us of our peace. Or we follow the good shepherd, we know his voice, we follow his voice, and what does he do? He restores my soul. But the choice is given to me. Don't get nervous about choice. We see choice throughout the gospel. We see it in Genesis, we see it under the law, we see it after the law in the Old Testament and the New Testament. We go all the way back to Genesis chapter 4. We see this moment where there were two brothers, Cain and Abel. And Abel was offering to God a sacrifice, meaning he was giving him something, but it wasn't what God asked for. Abel was giving God what God asked for. God received Abel's sacrifice, but he did not accept Cain's sacrifice. Now, that's just a good indication to us to let us know that it's not just about us giving God what we want to give him. It's about us following God, hearing his voice, and giving him what he has asked for. When God asks for something, is that what we are giving him? When God asks us to do something, is that what we are actually doing? So Cain was not going to obey, wasn't going to give God what God asked for. And so God didn't accept, he didn't receive his gift, and it frustrated Cain. It angered Cain. In the middle of his anger, God actually shows up and has a conversation with him. Aren't you glad that sometimes when you have questions, sometimes when you're frustrated with God, that he doesn't just leave us or forsake us, but that he will actually come in the middle of our frustration and he will speak to us? That he will hold us near and tell us those things that we are asking, but we still have to follow him. So he finds Cain in this place of frustration in verse 7. He says, Cain, if you do well, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do well, then sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. Choice is just that we have authority to make a decision that I will do this or I'm going to do that. That you actually decide what you're going to do. You actually decide who you're going to serve. We see this in Joshua chapter 24 and verse 15. After they had been led out of slavery, remember last week, we'll bring it into the conversation. He redeemed them from slavery. Now they made it through the wilderness where God tested them, preparing them for the promised land. They weren't ready. They were ready, but they didn't say yes. So then they rejected the promised land, but he stayed with them in the wilderness. Their shoes didn't run out. He gave them water from rocks. He fed them manna from heaven. And then they came to another point where the generation that said no was gone, and the next generation had their opportunity, and they said yes. They come into the promised land, and God gave them victories from Dan to Beersheba, from the sea to the river, taking the boundary of the promised land that God had given them. And now they're in this place where they have all spread out, and they're occupying what God gave them. I don't want one thing that God didn't give me, but I want all of what he has given me. They were occupying the place where God had put them. And in that place, Joshua says this, if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, then choose you this day whom you will serve. Whether the gods your fathers served in the other side, on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Choose you this day. It wasn't a rhetorical statement. They actually had the choice. Were they going to serve the Lord? Were they going to serve the gods of the Amorites? Were they going to serve the gods that their father served on the other side of the river? Who were they going to serve? He said, you choose. And then we go into the New Testament. James, the brother of Jesus, who was leading the church there at Jerusalem. And he said this, he said, do you not know? In other words, this has been made clear from the law to the prophets through the apostles. This is well established in the church. Do you not know that fellowship with the world is enmity with God? Everyone who chooses the world makes himself an enemy of God. So we all have this choice. Will I follow the Good Shepherd, or will I follow the thief? And the choices that I make put me in a place to experience the restoration of my soul, or to experience the frustration that follows in the absence of following him. Let me throw it out there like this. We've been watching a lot of basketball over the last couple of weeks. Lots of basketball. There's a lot of beer commercials during basketball, and I like beer. I don't drink beer, but I would like to. When I was a young adult, I drank a lot of beer. And I'm not very self-controlled. And so as a Christian, I have this command to not be drunken with wine where it's excessive. I couldn't do that. That was not possible for me. So I had to prohibit that from my life because of what God told me, how God told me I should live. As a preacher, when I said yes to carry the gospel and teach the gospel, I said no to alcohol, period. Because the gospel commands that the bishop is not to be given to wine at all. So as a preacher, I don't get to drink any wine, but I do get to watch basketball. And I'm looking, and this wasn't around back in my heyday, and Michelob Ultra, that's a really good-looking can. No, it is. I like the size. It's just like a cool-looking size. It looks cold. It looks fantastic. They crack that thing open in those commercials, and they start pouring it, and I'm like, I want one of those. That's what I would like. I would like that. But I don't go get one. I don't drink one. Why? Because I have authority to say yes or to say no. And I choose no because he said, this isn't best for you. Now you can go your own way and follow the way of the thief that will steal from you or kill you or destroy you, or you can follow me and I'm gonna lead you beside still waters. I'm gonna make you lie down in green pastures. Who are you going to serve? You make the choice. The good shepherd or the thief? He, the good shepherd, restores your soul. How does he do that? Does it just happen? No, we experience the restoration that he offers through following him. And this goes on when he says he restores your soul, this goes on in the soul. In that place where you think, in that place where you have desire, in that place where your emotions are loud, in your soul. And if he has to restore your soul, then that means there can be disruption in there, where he has to come in and bring restoration. We see in Romans chapter 14 and verse 17, it says, the kingdom of God is not a matter of eating and drinking, but of righteousness and peace and joy. Where? In the Holy Spirit. So in that place where he says, you're going to dwell and follow me, we are in the Spirit. So in the Spirit, there is joy, there is righteousness, there is peace. But I have to dwell there. Why? Because that's where there's restoration. That's where peace is. Let's talk about peace for a minute. I don't want you to raise your hand. I don't want you to say yes. I don't want you to say no. I just want you to think about this. How much peace do you experience day to day to day to day? How frustrated do you get? How awake do you stay when you should be able to rest? That is simply the lack of peace. So let's look at peace from a gospel perspective. Jesus said in John chapter 14 and verse 27, he said, peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. So let not your heart be troubled, neither let your hearts be afraid. Well, that sounds good. Don't let your heart be troubled. I promise you, when I'm up at night, I don't think I'm letting my heart be troubled. I would like to go to bed. But he says, no, don't let your heart be troubled. That means I have authority in my life to experience peace or to experience the turmoil. He said, the peace that I give isn't as the world gives. The world will give you peace based on certain things. The world will tell you you'll be successful if you have this. And then if you don't have this, then you're afraid that you're not going to be successful. The world says that you have security if you have this much in your bank. But as soon as your account goes below that threshold, now you are insecure. Let me just throw this out there. You are secure because he has a plan for you. You are secure because you follow him. You are secure because of his promise to you. I don't know if y'all are paying attention at all, but there's a whole lot going on in the economic world today. Whole lot of conversations about, should we do this? Should we not do that? Should we put tariffs over here or tariffs over there? Could I just say this whole thing could fall apart? The whole thing. This could be, like, our leaders could be making really bad decisions right now. Or they could be making really great decisions right now. We'll all see. But here's what I promise you. He is my shepherd. Therefore, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Like, surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Why? Because the Lord is my shepherd. If the whole thing falls apart, okay. Yeah, God didn't fall off the throne. Like, here's the thing. Sometimes we get, oh, that's just a lie of the enemy. If it's not a lie, it didn't come from the enemy. Let me just say, if you're worried about something that actually happens, that's not a lie. The thing is, we're not usually worried about that. Like, if you're worried about losing your job and then you lost your job, it wasn't a lie that you were worried about losing your job. You understand what I'm saying? If I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job and 3 days later I do, my worry, I wasn't worried because of a lie. So then if the enemy is the father of lies, but that wasn't a lie, then he wasn't creating my concern. My worry, though, really wasn't that I might lose something. My worry was that I would fail. My worry is that God wouldn't be with me. My worry would be that I wouldn't be picked up. My worry is that this would be it, that this would be the end. I'm worried about the things that are the lie because he will never leave me. He will never forsake me. But he leads me and he guides me. He doesn't leave me. He leads me. And when I understand that, I have peace. Because the peace that he gives is not the peace that the world gives. In other words, it's not based on their system. God says you're at peace because I'm with you. And that has to be enough. It goes on in Philippians chapter 4 and verse 6. It says, do not be anxious about anything. Okay. Y'all ever read scriptures like that and you're like, just the preacher. Y'all are so sanctified. I love y'all. I love coming to church with people that are so good. I love standing. I like being in the same room with people that are so much better than me. I really do. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplications, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses your understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Remember, in Christ Jesus, I have to stay in that pasture. I'm following him. I'm in that pasture. What does he tell me to do in that? What is the thing I'm supposed to do in that pasture when I'm not at peace? I am to pray and give supplications with thanksgiving. You're like, Shawn, you always, you try to make it sound so easy. You don't know what I'm going through. I get it. I may not know exactly what you're going through, but look, all of us, we're not all so special that life is so awesome that we don't any have worries. Every single one of us have worries. We might be worried about different things, but we all have worries. I am a compulsive worrier. I was thinking about this in preparation for this because I had terrible sleep this week. Why did I have terrible sleep this week? Because I was just worrying about stuff. This is what we can do. I have a choice that I wasn't making good choices to not worry. I was just worrying. You think about, nobody wants to know your thoughts. Let me say it this way. You don't want me to know your thoughts. So I have the lucky job of telling you mine, hoping some way, somehow that relates to yours. Because we don't give our thoughts away. But in this spot, I'm actually supposed to give my thoughts away. Okay, so I was placed as the senior pastor, the leader of this church, under Jesus 5 years ago. That's worrisome. It's a lot of people, it's a lot of stuff, it's a lot of money, and it could all fall apart tomorrow. When you look at the stats, any preacher that comes in after the founding pastor is much more likely to fail than survive. Great. That's great news. I've been married for 29 years. That's a long time. It's a long time for my wife to be putting up with me. One day we were at this marriage thing and they're like, sum up your spouse in one word. And she said, exhausting. Exhausting. Not amazing. 29 years of amazing, I've got nothing to worry about. 29 years of exhausting, well, there's a thing. I have 4 kids. They need to eat. They need a future. 4, one of them's dating. What? Why? What is happening to my life? So I worry. So the other day, I was just, worried. Don't raise your hand. Does anybody worry? I was worried. And I lay down to go to bed, and Ab said something. I got irritated. I'm like, I get up and I just go off because I'm in a terrible mood. 11 o'clock at night, whatever. And when I say go off, I go in another room. Come back, try to sleep. Lay there. Worried, mad, worried. Some concoction of the two. And what do? What did he tell me to do? Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. I can lay there worried, or I can get up and go pray. And what I have found is getting up and going and praying brings remedy to the disruption, and he restores my soul. You clap, but you're not the one who has to get up at 1 a.m. and go wander the neighborhood for 2 hours to get over it. There's the guy on the corner walking around again, and what's he mumbling about? Few days later, same worry. Get back out of bed, go back outside, wander around the pool. This time I knew it wasn't going to be a long one. 10 minutes, peace came. Go back inside, lay down, go to bed. Why? Because he restores my soul. Some of you are trying to experience spiritual peace the natural way, and it's not a natural problem. Natural problems have natural remedies. Spiritual issues, soul issues have to have spiritual remedies. And so we do what he's called us to do when we don't have peace, because peace is a very spiritual thing. If I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm thirsty, I drink. But the kingdom of heaven is not a matter of eating and drinking, but it is righteousness and peace and joy. And he has joy for us. Like real joy, actual joy. Jesus goes on and he says this in John chapter 9. He said, as my Father has loved me, I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you abide in my love. Just as I have kept all my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I say these things to you that my joy, meaning the joy of God, may be in you, and that your joy may be full. Like, I know I have the joy of the Lord because I know the Lord is in me. But he gave me two statements, that his joy would be in me and my joy would be full. Like he said, there's such a thing as you actually having real joy. There's actually a thing of you having real peace, not in the absence of peace where you make a statement, a confession, a declaration, a prophecy that his joy is my strength. I'm not talking about a prophecy right now. I'm talking about the realization of actual joy, actual peace, so you can actually sleep. He's made us that promise. Let's wrap it up with this. There was this moment where Jesus was again with Pharisees. He was having this conversation with Pharisees. Pharisees were always in the way. Sometimes in our lives, we like to just give labels, and anybody that disagrees with us, we call them a Pharisee. Let me just say, a Pharisee is just somebody who knows the word and denies Jesus anyhow. So somebody that just has a different doctrinal position than you have, that's not a Pharisee. That's just somebody that disagrees with you. It's okay for them to be wrong. It's fine. But the disagreement doesn't make them a Pharisee. So let's make sure we don't just throw out insults or make labels to attach wherever we want to. So Jesus is having this conversation, though, with actual Pharisees. And they said, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? Because there was a man that came into the synagogue on the Sabbath with a withered hand. And Jesus said, which of you who owns a sheep that falls in a pit would not reach down and take him and lift him out of that pit on the Sabbath? Of how much more value is a man than a sheep? He goes on, he says, so it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. And he says to the man with the withered hand, stretch out your hand. And he said he stretched it out, and it was restored to health just like the other hand. There is a standard in restoration. And I just wanted to let us know we don't need to ever settle for less than the fullness of what God has promised you. God has promised you peace. God has promised you joy. So experience the restoration of the soul that has full joy and full peace. His withered hand was not partially healed, and he was just told, oh, be thankful for what? No. It was healed, restored to health, just like the other hand. God did the whole measure. God will do for you what you believe him to do if you follow the Good Shepherd. He has good things for you. Goodness and mercy will follow you. He will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Your cup will actually overflow. He will actually anoint your head with oil. Surely, surely, surely. In other words, absolutely goodness will follow you. Absolutely mercy is going to follow you. How long? All the days of your life. And then what? I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There is restoration in his presence. Where his presence is, there is fullness of joy. So experience the restorer of your soul.